Okay, so there's a couple different ways of approaching science fiction costuming, and I've talked to you about this. I've sort of commented on this. One, one is to try to predict the future of style. So that's something you'd see in something like Star Trek, a lot of classic Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So
the question is, can you make something that upon seeing it you will say, yes, that feels like the equivalent of what we're wearing compared to something I can see in the past?
Yeah.
Like, as in, like, does this feel like it arises naturally the way that our clothes arose naturally?
Yeah, and of course it takes a long time, so people might wear anything, but Star Trek, of course, went for often casual wear is weird plaid, weird multicolored quilts throughout the Next Generation era. What they've done, what's become more recent, first, of course, there's the iconic, everybody's wearing togas in, like, the 20s and 30s for their expectations, or shiny jumpsuits in the 40s and the 50s, and the 60s and the 70s, they're back to kind of these long flowing robes in the 70s and into the 80s, and going out of the 80s they wear basically weird, they look weird bad upholstery, looks like this, and then they wear that into the 90s. And what I've noticed has been the more recent trend, it really started, I think, with Battlestar Galactica, was...
The recent Battlestar Galactica?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
To be... This sounds dismissive, but it's not really intended to be. Just don't even try. So...
You can't look wrong if you don't try.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Laura Roslin...
It's like, why not? I guess we could wear the same thing.
Yeah, Laura Roslin in Galactica wore something that would not look out of place on Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton prefers more flat colors, but at most you saw something like in the mini-series, which would be like, oh, well, maybe we won't actually have the lapels, and we'll just have like a button collar and none of these. But there was nothing really attempting to go that far. And then what Doctor Who has done more recently is even more of a don't even try. They'll just dress the way people on Earth might dress or might have dressed. So Gallifreyans, the everyday Gallifreyan, why not? He can dress like it's 1930. Mm-hmm. That's very practical clothing. It's a loose-fitting shirt, slacks, and a broad-brimmed hat. Sure, it's a little too 1930s, but it creates a certain... I see it almost like a translator. Because clothing is a method of communication. There's what I am wearing communicates something. It apparently communicates that I share fashion sense with the Doctor, but what I am wearing, were I not, specifically talking about Doctor Who, would communicate something different from what you are wearing.
And if we're going to be super serious, this is a related note.
Yeah.
If we're going to be super serious about trying to make continuity out of this, which is not necessarily a good idea, the Doctor did say at one point that maybe he's not really physically human looking.
It was implied at one point.
In which case, they're just wearing whatever.
This was the third Doctor's era. Mm-hmm. The first story with Sontarans, actually. And it was the first Sarah Jane Smith story.
Nice.
Which I almost called the first Sarah Jane Moore story. It'd be a very different story. It's the story where Sarah Jane Smith tries to assassinate Gerald Ford with her shoe. It's a story, they go back to medieval times, the Sontarans are there, and that's why Sontaran armor looks a little bit like a goofy medieval knight, because it was intended to look like that when it was first designed.
Alright.
And it's even more so then.
So what are your thoughts on the art design?
Yes, the art design. Just finishing about clothing, what the advantage of the don't even try method is you will communicate exactly what you mean to communicate.
Mm-hmm. You can pick according to what you would be trying to communicate with a person in a non-sci-fi story.
Yeah.